It's just too quiet here.
Yes, it is.
Well, we're trying to save energy.
Oh, okay, that's good. We got to save energy in that.
Yes.
The more you burn up calories, that means that you got to go to the grocery store and pollute more and more into the environment.
I'm still not quite over whatever my husband gave me for Christmas. So it's
Merry Christmas, Happy
it
New
wasn't
Year.
anything I wanted. So I mean, it's sometimes I get coughing, and other times it's like I'm fine, you know. Oh, and our septic system failed, so we're dealing.
Yeah. Welcome to
You
2025.
know how much they cost?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, they're expensive.
Huh?
They're very expensive.
Well,
Yeah.
same thing happened to me after Christmas. I got a bad cold, so I'm coughing, and our septic system failed.
Wow.
Well,
Gotta
It's
stop
a good
flushing the
thing
toilets.
Man. I'm
It's
skipping
a
the
good
cold,
thing
but
I
we're
paid
just
my
moving.
dues already.
Boy, such a group.
Yeah.
2 septic tanks failing, person
Well,
moving.
welcome 2025. Yeah, this is
Furnace took a crap, so yeah,
yeah.
Oh, is that what screwed up the septic system?
maybe.
No, ours is just 47 years old. I think it old age.
Jeff Klug,
Yeah.
we got word yesterday that two couples canceled on the
Oh.
original condos that we wanted. So we may be in by the end of March instead of the end of April.
End of April.
Oh wow.
But
But just down the street, down in my section?
no, it's up above yet, but it's the farthest one east. It's at an angle.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All he can see from his.
Boy, I guess we could probably all get together over by your guys' houses and that'd be our Menomonee Falls Camera Club.
Yeah.
I'm looking at one of those, but in order to sell our house, we have to have, oh, I don't know, picky, a working septic system.
I tell you.
Oh yeah, I mean, house owners are so picky, they like to be able to have a septic system that works.
Yeah.
It's
Ain't
that
that
indoor
you
plumbing
know what?
thing. Oh,
What
I'm
a way
sorry.
to start the meeting, Linnea.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, Jeff.
Hopefully it's the low
Attendance-wise,
point
should
of
we
the evening.
get going?
Yeah, we might as well start. It looks like we've got 27, so we're pretty good, and we got a full night here.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the February. I guess everybody just advice, don't use your septic until, the spring. It sounds like, wow. But, before we start the meeting, we have a new member. And Leonid, I already sent him a message and he said he'd be happy to welcome or introduce himself. Would you mind taking the floor? Welcome.
Oh, hello, everyone. I'm Leonid. Do you hear me well?
Yeah. Can
Okay,
see and
cool.
hear you.
Yeah, I'm Leonid. I'm originally from Eastern Europe, but now I live in Micron with my wife and my daughter. And my older son, he's graduating from medicine this spring. So from photography, I have a full-time job in IT, and photography is kind of my passion. I do mostly landscape photography. I do like to go out at sunsets, sunrises. Usually I go here around Milwaukee in like state parks or like North Shore of Lake Michigan, things like that. Sometimes we travel for vacation, then I take my camera with me there too. I guess for me, I do really like, I guess, sunrises more than sunsets, even though I guess the light could be equally good at both, but sunrises are very they have something special to me, maybe something a little bit magic, like when everything is so quiet and calm before, even sometimes the lake is not very calm, but the feeling is still is very different than sunsets when I guess a lot of crowds and a lot of people you can see. So yeah, but then and probably also because it's for me it's very difficult to wake up in the morning. I am not a morning person at all.
I'll agree
But
with
I guess
that.
that's my resolution for this year to shoot more sunrises than sunsets.
I think there was a photographer in Minnesota who has made has shot morning sunrises for the last couple of years. I think it's Minnesota. So it was really fascinating how he would get up and, well, because he had to trudge through snow. So I'm guessing it's not any place warm with palm trees. But he said sometimes he thinks of switching to the evening, but right now he's so into this morning shoot that it's become a habit.
Yeah, I know a group of photographers here in Milwaukee. They shoot almost every morning and evening too. So they do it a lot.
Well, welcome. I think you'll enjoy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Everybody is so helpful. And they do, this year I bugged out because I realized it's cold. Every year there's like a January field trip when it's like, 30 below zero out to Port Washington for the lighthouse. And some of the photos that I've seen are just amazing. So
yeah, I missed that cold this year, but I was shooting a lighthouse a few years ago, 3 years ago, when it was -10 or so.
yeah.
That was kind of nice. And it was a lot of actually photographers there that day too.
Well, again, welcome. It's good to have you
Thank
here.
you.
As Jeff said, tonight is going to be jam-packed. We're going to have show and tell with Brian Lauttamus and Roger Crill. Brian, you'll be up first, and then Roger. We will then go, talk about the field trip for Saturday. We'll update everybody on the t-shirt logos, what's going on with that. We'll have Jeff update us on PSA and Wacko. We'll do the January challenge slideshow. Jeff has a wonderful tribute to one of our members, Karl, who passed, and I'll let Jeff take care of all of that. And then we will get right into the program. So unless there's any introductory comments from anyone, I almost think that with everything we have tonight, would we want to just start? Brian, would you want to start with show and tell? Or Jeff, would you like to do the PSA and Wacko first?
Let me, PSA and Wacko can go quick, so, and we'll let Brian get ready to pull his images. PSA, they have their chapter meeting middle of March. They're doing a teams challenge that they do between two groups in the club that will battle out to see who is the better team. To join that group, you need to belong to the national PSA, and then you can join the chapter, which is relatively inexpensive. They do a field trip every year. Their field trip is to Dubuque, Iowa this year, which has a lot of interesting spots to photograph in. For Wacko, Wisconsin Area Camera Club organization, we have our spring competition is now open, accepting entries. It does close early. And I'm just trying to remember my close date. It's March, I believe it's 23rd, or whatever that Sunday is at midnight. It's early this year because the judging will be on April 5th. So get your images in, but remember it's closing a month earlier than normal. So you need to get those images in a month early. I know that gets to be a problem, but I had a conflict on dates, and we ended up shifting the competition a month ahead. The most important thing is we have a March seminar that is on March 1st, and that's with Daryl Gouline. He will be talking about landscape and wildlife photography. The landscapes is the 5 A's across the world, so you can figure them out. The wildlife stuff is different wildlife animals around, and both will be, it will start at 9 o'clock, it ends about 12:30. Each topic is about an hour and a half long. It's $26.50 if you sign up before February 10th, and it goes to $36.50 if you sign up after February 10th. We really ask you to please sign up now. We need all the people we can get. You can't get a better deal at $26.50. Heck, that's the price of a normal dinner eating out these days. So instead of eating out one night, why don't you come and watch Daryl Gouline talk. He's a very good photographer. He's off the west, he's in the northwest corner of the country, and he has beautiful photography. I've known him from a place called Swimsea, which is Wacko's sister group in Michigan. And he taught there when I was teaching there. And he just has a really nice way of being able to teach photography. So if you haven't signed up, please sign up. For those of you that have, thank you. And that's it for Wacko. Wacko is looking for a president and a vice president if anybody would like to volunteer. Oh, look at those screens all go dark all at once. That's it, Linnea.
Okay. And Brian, would you be ready? We have 3 different slideshow presentations tonight, which is why I'm pushing the show and tell right up to the front. But are you ready to start?
I think so, hopefully.
Okay.
Okay,
That's what I
so
always
I'm
say.
going to do 2 videos. When I was scheduling this for February, I was hoping to have shots from Botswana, but as many of you know, that didn't happen this year. So I'm looking back at what I do have for some of my favorites of 2024. Again, this is going to be in a video. So it's an eclectic series. There's going to be some flower shots, orchid show, Shady Lane, my garden. There's going to be some animals, mostly from the zoo. And there's going to be some architectural shots from St. Josephat. So that's going to be the first video. And the second is going to be backyard wildlife. Some of you may have seen this on Facebook, but this was when we had that snowstorm recently. I did have my camera out, and so this is with my Bushnell trail cam. So gonna just run these 2. They're both gonna have some audio with them. So let's see if I can make this work. I haven't done this in a while. So
Yeah, just don't forget to check the audio checkbox, Brian, when you're.
yeah, if I can find it. Okay.
Yeah, they keep moving it, so I can't tell you where it is.
Let's see. Let's see. My screen is large, and I don't see an audio.
Well, you're already sharing, so it would have been before you hit done, because we're seeing your desktop right now.
It says set up professional audio and audio settings. That's not it.
Gotta admit, I haven't, they keep changing it on me.
I could hear the audio,
so
but
Brian,
you
you're
could not hear
already
the audio,
sharing.
I assume, right?
He has to share the audio before he shares with us, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to click share audio before you share it before you hit done, or
Share audio. I don't see that.
It's on the same it's usually on the same window as where you,
Yeah,
like as soon as you click share, it should be a
it's
window
on
should pop
the
up.
right side top where it gives you layouts and that.
Well, we'll have to do
That's-
it without the audio.
Let's see, I can. For some reason.
Someone else is sharing, so it must be you.
Yeah, I'm stopping that right now. So now when you hit share, if you look on the right side, there should be a box that says layouts and your picture, and then below that says options, share sound.
Oh, okay. I got it. Well, let's try that.
Although we're not seeing the video, Brian, we're seeing your data drive.
I think he only shared Windows Explorer, that's why.
I know this stuff gets tricky. You only have one screen, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. So just make sure that the first thing on the dialog box is your screen that's being shared. Check that. Don't hit Windows Explorer or any of the other ones. And then hit shared audio, and then we should be able to see that video play.
Well, my screen comes up before you could see the picture, but not have the sound, right? Did you ever see the picture?
No, we only saw your Finder window.
Explorer.
Yeah. So you got to make sure that you click on, I think it should be desktop 1 or desktop, which is usually the first thing highlighted, and then just, checking the share sound. You must have somehow hit the find, or for me it's the Finder, for you it's the Windows version.
Well, I have these in a folder. The two videos are in a folder on, I don't know.
Well, hit share. And let's see. Okay, double click on it and let's see where you go. It's not behind that screen. What happens if you close that screen, Brian? The Finder window.
What if I what?
You could minimize that folder, and maybe the video will play. Maybe the video's behind it, Brian.
Well, I'm going to copy both of these out to the desktop. I hate to be holding up everybody. I'm sorry.
That's okay. These share things, they keep changing the layouts and it's messing a lot of people up.
I
Oh, so is
literally
it,
I literally just came from a meeting where we just had an entire hour meeting to cover this stuff for the Out of Chicago conference. So don't feel bad. And everybody was having issues, and we've been doing it for 5 years, and people were still where I can't find the end screen share button, and so
And Brian,
this
I'm
happens
taking
all the
notes.
time.
This is the most stressful part of this job is that monthly share thing. So no, I appreciate learning.
by the end of the year, you'll be a pro at sharing your screen on Zoom.
But the
That is
sad thing
my
is they
goal.
keep
And then they'll change it.
changing. They keep reinventing the wheel. So it's like, stop changing everything.
It's also tough because sometimes, one's on a Mac, one's on a PC, so they're like similar but
Yeah.
not the same.
Nope. Yeah.
So like Jeff and I run into a problem where we're both on Macs, and then PC users were like, I think it's this, but I'm not entirely
good.
sure.
I should do a video on it again.
I'll put mine up on YouTube or something and share it that way. Sorry, let's move on. I've done this before, and for some reason, it's very different today than what it was several years
Yeah,
ago.
they've updated it and they've changed it since I last looked at it, Brian. So don't be too frustrated. It's just getting. They're supposedly making it easier, and they've made it more difficult. You should see mine. I have 3 screens, so I have even worse problems and a lot of programs running. Well, let's try Roger, and then
I don't know. I'm afraid to try it now.
Well, Roger, talk us through your steps, and maybe I'll learn something.
Okay, well, see, I'm different too. I got 2 screens. So I'm going to share, and then I'm saying that I want to share screen 1. And so now everybody should be looking at a jellyfish.
Coming. Yep.
yep.
Yep. Okay. So now you should probably be looking at the Port Washington Harbor in fog.
Yep.
Okay. And my name's up in the corner?
Yep.
Yep. Wow.
Hey, it
Oh, I
worked.
got there. I was wondering what to do this presentation on, and I was adding more pictures to my website from taking more pictures from down at the harbor. And I thought, well, I've been taking pictures at the harbor for 30 years. So I thought that I'd just kind of go over what some of the things that are at the harbor, what happens there, and the kinds of pictures that you can take. They're not all my best pictures or by any means, but they should be kind of interesting. And I figure Jeff Ewig is on, and he can probably go to sleep. This is the Port Washington Harbor from Upper Lake Park on a morning when it was 10 below. And the sun is rising up behind all of the fog coming off the water. And I wanted to put this one in because this was one of my long ago shots of the Port Washington Lighthouse up close. When you can see, it doesn't have a lot of rust on it. That's no longer the case today. We'll see some other ones that don't look like that. And down on the harbor, there's 2 parks. One is Rotary Park, and it has a gazebo, and it's got a flags and a memorial to the fishing industry. And here's a statue, kind of a famous image of Port Washington, of a guy carrying a big sturgeon over his back. There's a neon sign downtown that has the same image on it. I don't have an image of that. Across part of the harbor from Port Washington is the coal dock. And it's called the coal dock because the power plant right there used to be coal fired, and they had a big area where they brought in ships and unloaded all of the coal. And where you see this World War II monument was probably 40 feet deep in coal at one point. I like the clouds out there this day. And so I've taken thousands of pictures of the lighthouse at various times. Early in the morning, on cold days, and in the evening when the moon comes up. And here's another one with the moon coming up. A little bit different exposure level. Now I've got one more of the lighthouse in the morning, and you can see it's not quite as white as it used to be. And this picture is even a few years old. It's or no, this is about 1 year old, but there's getting to be more and more rust on the lighthouse. It's due to they've accumulated the funds to renovate the lighthouse, and I think in 1 to 2 years they're going to start repainting it and fixing it up. And this is the lighthouse in stormy weather. And the gulls seem to love those big crashing waves because they're turning up fish and stuff along the breakwater. And in the winter, you'll get all kinds of ice. And here the sun has melted it off on one side off of these supports, and the ice is hanging in donuts. And sometimes the spray really covers things over. A lot of people come into the harbor for recreation, and some have sailboats. Now, since the dock was originally a coal dock, it can take large ships. This one came in one summer day because it was having, I believe, problems with its thrusters. And it came in and sat in the harbor for a couple days until they got replacement parts and fixed the boat, and it went back out. So I have no idea what this was carrying, but it was on its way up Lake Michigan and stopped here.
Probably iron ore.
What?
Probably iron ore.
Could be, yeah. And there's a lot of people activity in the summer. People come to look at the harbor. There's a lot of people that come up from both Milwaukee and Chicago, and some even still come and ask, where's the Smith Brothers restaurant? That's been closed for about 15 years now, but a lot of people came up to eat there and spend the day in the harbor. On hot summer days, people will walk out to the lighthouse, sit where the breeze off the water keeps them cool, And in the fall, this is the stream feeding into the harbor. We have a salmon run every year. And in Alaska, they refer to this as combat fishing. And both on the south and the north side of the harbor, there's some people that come out to surf, although we don't really have very high waves for the most part. And there have been some sailboard or windsurfing. And in the summer, we'll get some festivals. One that's has kind of gone up and down in popularity is the Pirate Festival. And they bring in some cannons to make noise. They have lots of art booths and things, and music and other types of festivals stuff. You can see behind this scene that the power plant is under construction in the background, where it was being converted from coal power to gas power. And the plant isn't always in operation. It's just used to supplement the main power coming from other power plants around. So sometimes none of the chimneys will be putting off steam, sometimes all of them, just depending upon the demands for the day. Here's some people making fun at the Pirate Fest. And another festival was the Tall Ships Festival. And they were getting some ships, sailing ships from quite a ways away. The one on the left is the Pride of Baltimore II that came out a number of years from Maryland. Now they don't have they have a similar festival now, which is, I believe, just called the Harbor Festival, and they're not getting quite as many ships in. Some of these ships, they take on volunteers to help learn the ropes of sailing a ship. And here are guys stowing away the sails. And I always thought this next one was amusing, of a whole bunch of people stowing away the sails. Something you can't miss down at Port Washington Harbor are the birds. And the first one that you're going to notice is there's always seagulls around. And I don't take a lot of pictures of them. Once in a while, you can get an interesting shot. And then the second most prominent bird in the harbor is the Canadian geese. This was really cold, probably 0 or below. And they were just trying to keep warm. I don't know how you do it sitting on ice. But at times we get an awful lot of geese in the harbor. And if ever you go to the harbor in the morning and some in the evening, there's always a time where they take off to go and find some place to feed in the morning. So you get a lot of activity for a few minutes around sunrise, usually a little before the sun gets up. And then where can you go in Wisconsin and not have a few mallards around? And through the winter, we're having a bunch of mergansers coming in and feeding. They like to go in a group and they'll swim along a little ways and then the whole bunch will dive. And they'll come up and they'll move on a little ways and they'll dive. And then when they're bored with that, they'll take off, run a little ways. I always thought it was their wings flapping on the water when they ran along like this, but no, I can tell that it's their big web feet. And in the springtime, there's a period around May 15th to June 5th or so that a lot of alewives die off in the harbor. And the gulls go crazy on that. And for a while, some migrating birds will come in and feed on the fish. And last year, we had a few hundred terns come in and take their turn on feeding on the alewives. And one year, this was probably about 7 years ago, a flock of pelicans comes north on the lake, and I think they go up to Green Bay. And usually they stay for a while to fish at Sheboygan, but they stayed in Fort Washington one year. And I took as many pictures as I could. Here one skiing in for a landing. And there's a place near where the fishermen stand by the discharge from the power plant that you could really get some nice close pictures of the birds feeding. And they'd go and they'd grab a fish and then they'd flip it up to flip it down their pouch. And so I got some nice shots of that. And of my pictures that I've put in contests, this has probably got the most awards of anything. And recently I went down and sometimes we have a few cormorants down there. He looks like he was sunning himself, but it was cold and it was cloudy. He was just airing himself off. Apparently, these are one of the birds that, although they do swim, they don't have a lot of repellency in their feathers. So they have to stop and let the feathers dry out for a while. And the other day when I was down there, I was taking pictures of this cormorant and some of the mergansers, and I heard a noise that I recognized, and I managed to catch a kingfisher feeding in the harbor, which all the boat slips that are now empty, it's a great place for him to stand on these posts and watch for minnows. And that's the end. That's what I've got for today.
Roger, those were incredible. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next month then for show and tell, we're going to have Clint Wessel and Peter Chow. So look forward to that one. Then going back to some of our notes right now, we do briefly on the field trip update. So Saturday, February 15th, we are having the tabletop workshop at Holy Cross from 10 to 12 noon. First of all, do we have people that are interested in attending? Okay, quite a few. And then my question, and I hate to ask,
Could we
yeah,
tell
go
how
ahead.
many hands that was? Maybe if you raise your hand, if down. No, I'm talking about raise your hand in the Zoom down at the end.
Oh,
Yeah,
By
I
the
got
chat
about,
button.
yeah, I got about 12, Brian.
12? Okay,
yeah.
Wait, I lost
thank you.
me.
And then Brian, for the most part, I take it, I'm looking for who the line leaders are for this event. Is there anybody, I guess, who's the point of contact? I unfortunately am unable to make it. Are you our meeting coordinator? Are we looking for a leader to coordinate everything?
Well, I think I'm kind of the coordinator, but in terms of the space and the time, in terms of what people bring, Ellen has some input on that. Just one comment. I was at the church on Sunday and was looking at that space, the gathering space, which is what we're advertising now. But I'm trying to get in touch with the church to see if we can move it into the gym. I'll send out an email or get Jeff to send out an email if we can change it. The point was the light was better in there. Hadn't been in there in a long time. But for now, it'll be this as advertised. And again, if I can get us moved into the Trinity Center gym, then I'll work with Jeff to send out an update on that.
Yeah, okay.
Can we get there at 9:30 to help set up and stuff like that? Is that still a possibility?
That was been the plan for some time. I think we've talked
Yeah,
about
okay.
that, but
Just
yes,
double check.
yes. So
Because
the
it's from-
doors will be open at 9:30. But then we're
Okay.
advertising the beginning at 10. So does it make any difference? I don't know, but
Yeah, I'll be
it-
bringing a bunch of stuff to photograph and little black background cloths. I believe Carol Bennett,
Carol Bailey.
not Carol Bennett, Carol Bailey, I got the B right, is bringing a bunch of her stuff, and I think she wants to leave it behind. So for people to take, and I'm going to have a bunch of stuff that I want to leave behind because I don't have room to store as much tabletop stuff anymore. And I'll let people know when we get near the end what I'm leaving behind and what I'm keeping.
Well, just as a point of clarification, Jeff, I know the note in page 4 of the newsletter says that she's willing to donate. She doesn't say that she's willing to bring them. So I don't know.
I thought she was bringing them was what I had last heard, but I don't remember who I heard that from.
I know she originally reached out to me, but I have not had any more contact with her since that initial, I'd love to donate this to somebody who would want it.
Okay, so then maybe I misunderstood what I had heard somewhere, but I don't remember. I've talked to too many people in the last few months to know, but I know I have stuff that I'm willing to give up because I don't have room to store it in my small spot now. And
we're asking people to bring things, so that's kind of setup stuff, but we're looking for people to bring things that can be photographed, like flowers, coins, I don't know, anything small.
yeah, I've got stamps and blocks and all sorts of stuff like that.
I have little artifacts and things like that too. I can try to get a hold of Carol and find out what her plans are. I haven't talked to her in a long time, but let me see if I can get a hold of her in the next, what is it, today is a Tuesday, in the next couple days to see if she is bringing things, what she is planning on bringing. I can also bring a large tote container so that we can put whatever might be left over. And I can take it temporarily to see if I can. I don't want to say store the stuff because we're trying to move, and if my husband's
Yeah.
bringing any more stuff in the house, I could be living near the septic system. So let's just put it that way. Let me see what Carol has to say, and I can, depending upon how many things there are, I can bring a large tote container to at least temporarily take the photo items with, or whatever is left over from Jeff and so on, until we can find. There's no place we can find place. We don't have. We're homeless. We don't really have a place to put things anymore.
Yeah. Look out,
Yeah,
if you move out
most of us
here,
are
you got this.
most of us are downsizing these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk to her, maybe if somebody needs to, we could run out there and pick it up from her to get it out of her place, and then try to find people, see who takes what at the tabletop shoot, and then if it's all right with her, we'll just donate the rest of it away. Do something like that. So I imagine it's the same problem for her. She wants to get it out of her place, and she has a lot of what I have.
Ellen, I just emailed you her phone number.
I do. I think I do have that already, but thank
Okay.
you. It doesn't hurt to have it again. Where does Carol live? Oh, I might have that address too. Never mind. Let me
Somewhere in
look
the
it up.
falls here.
Okay. Okay. Let me check into it. We'll see.
Are there any other questions in regards to Saturday the 15th outing, or is everybody comfortable with it?
Oh, wait. I think I was gonna say, if we're there ahead of time, other than this initial setup, do we need someone to direct people, or can they just figure that out on their own?
It sounds like you guys have it all planned. you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can help people if they have questions. I'm going to be there. So,
Okay. Okay.
because I'm bringing stuff to set up, I don't plan to photograph it myself. So,
All right. And Brian, you're gonna see if the venue is changing a little bit, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
All right, well then on to the next topic, the t-shirt logo design that Jim started with this great idea. Speaking both with Ellen and Patty this week, both of them have excellent insight. Ellen, would you like to start in regards to it, and then we'll switch it over to Patty?
I don't want this to come fast and furious, but this is usually a longer process than just getting the information and then voting on it right away, because there's certain questions that, number one, the more finished the logos are, the better it is for people to make informed decisions. Once, I mean, I do realize that I saw one idea that it was a duplicate. One had the camera lens and then it had a QR code in it. My question is, how do you access that QR code? I mean, you start shooting people's or have them, use your shirt or cap or whatever. So I'm just saying those are little things that we can work out later on. But I think the next step should be to take the next step and make most of the information as clear and close to the final product as we can get it. I have done logos before, and it's once you send it to a group of people, it becomes a little bit, I don't want to say a little more touchy, but there's a lot more information, a lot more comments, a lot more considerations that you have to deal with. So I think that what you've seen in the newsletter is what has been pretty much given to everybody at this particular point. Now let's just refine that. And I think, Linnea, you said somebody else had another one.
Yes,
that
I
they
think
were-
there's one more.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I had considered doing one of those, and then I thought, oh, this is a pain in the ass. So I thought, well, what I would really do is just maybe help in the direction of getting the information ready. And I know Patty has information on how we can do fundraisers, but I don't think we're quite to that point. And we can put together some information later on, but I'm thinking this is going to be at least another month or two before we actually make a final decision, because it really has to be something that everybody or a major portion of the members agree with, if that's all right. That's
I agree.
all I have to say right now. Patty?
Okay, so what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight, first of all, Promotion Pros, where I work, we do have a staff of artists that work with us that create the art designs if they need to be refined or whatever. If you have they'd like to get camera ready art, but they do have artists that can make refinements if necessary. There might be an extra art charge on it if it's complicated, but for the most part, they do the artwork for free as part of the process of setting up the products. What we need to kind of think about is like what color shirts are we going to be putting these on? Most photographers like to wear black so that their shirts don't reflect back at them in the images that they're taking, like in glass or in eyeballs or whatever. So a light colored shirt, is usually not what a photographer is going to choose. They'll choose like a dark gray or black or whatever. So then you have to think about the artwork and how it's going to look on a dark shirt. And so a lot of the designs that I'm seeing, are very dark designs. So, that might be an issue. The photographic type images are nice, but that's another type of printing process. And it can be more expensive and can limit the type of fabric that you print on because they'll do like a heat transfer, and it's got to be something that can withstand high heat. So
that was only thrown in there because that's what we're using currently.
Okay.
I don't expect us to use that. It's a horrible logo. It's not a logo, it's a title.
Okay, but anybody that does submit a photographic type image, there was another one that was beautiful with the forest kind of scene in the background, but that would be lost on a black shirt. And so we just have to kind of think about that stuff. The best things, if the best way to go would be screen print, and to do like a one color imprint. The more colors you introduce, you pay for more screens, and you pay for run charges for additional ink colors. So everything drives up the cost. So what works out the best and is the most economical is a screen print that's like a one color and a graphic eye-catching design. And so those are just kind of guidelines that we use a lot, for these types of projects. If if we decide that we want to go with a full color imprint or or something that's very detailed, then we'll just have to change the printing process and then have it requoted. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because of logistically, we meet, virtually. So, there's, the old fashioned way where somebody collects the money and the orders and then submits the orders and then has to distribute the stuff. That would be a nightmare in our situation. So we do have something called a web store that we can set up for the club. So once everybody decides on everything, everything would go on a website just for us. Each individual person can place their orders on the website. They'd collect all the orders, then they would go to print, and then each individual order would be shipped to the individuals who place the order. If we wanted to turn it into a way to make a little money for the club on the side, we can add a few extra dollars to the price of the shirts over what our cost is, and make a little bit of money. And then at the end, Promotion Pros would write a check, one check to the club, rather than having to collect a whole bunch of money from everybody and sorting out all the funds. So it just makes it super easy. It's very popular with a lot of groups. So it takes a lot of the real logistical nightmares out of the whole situation.
Patty, my question is the hand-drawn concepts. Do you know who submitted those? Will they be able to refine those?
Oh yeah, the hand-drawn one was actually mine. And
oh, okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, so I've already started working on it with someone at work, and we sat down together yesterday and came up with almost exactly what I had in mind. Just using clip art that we could find. We have access to a clip art website, that we can get anything we want.
Okay. It's just that a lot of people may not understand the rough drawing kind of, and after experiencing some of that with different customers and clients, it's like the more you can get it, the line drawing, the whatever you're going to do, the more they can understand the initial way it's going to look. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll have that ready to present.
Question.
Yes.
On page 6 in the newsletter, so there's a whole bunch of, so I wouldn't think, based upon what you were talking about earlier for design requirements, I wouldn't think any of those would be suitable. Would meet the requirements.
Well, that's that's what I want, why I wanted to have this talk with everyone about that, just to kind of provide guidelines. It's not that they can't be done, but it would just change the process and it would add to the expense and might limit what garments you're able to print on. So the most versatile is just a one color, like a graphic design screen print. And that's what we quoted. But if we need to do a different process, we'll just have to requote it and we can get you new pricing. And
is it heat set?
Pardon?
Is it heat set? I mean, will the screen printing hold up in, I don't want to say the wash, but that sort of thing?
Oh,
I've
yeah,
seen different.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got shirts that I've worn for the last 20 years.
Okay,
Yeah, that are, the shirt's wearing out before the imprint is. So that's not
Good.
a problem. And
Okay.
I would not recommend a barcode or the QR code. Those are a freaking nightmare to reproduce and actually have them be readable. Yeah, and
agree.
I would recommend that for like a hard goods item, like a mug or something, over something like clothing. I think that would be a freaking nightmare.
Patty, I'm gonna talk the dollar thing. When we set up that website, or that your group sets up the website, do they collect and pay the sales tax?
The sales tax would be calculated for each individual order. So wherever you're ordering from and having it shipped to, the sales tax will go along with wherever it's being shipped to. Each
Yeah,
one will
but
ship.
is your company paying the sales, they're collecting the sales tax, or are they
They'll
paying it?
collect, they collect it. We charge you the sales tax on your order, but we're paying the state for the sales tax. We
Okay.
take care of all that.
Just wanted to make sure, because we don't want to have to set up a resale account with the state.
No,
We are not a
we-
nonprofit, so, you
No,
know, we gotta be
we take
careful.
care of that.
Okay.
Can I be a devil's advocate here for a second? I'm just curious how many of our members are actually interested in these sweatshirts or whatever else the merchandise might be. It seems like a lot of effort, probably for a very low return of people involved in it.
Yeah, the kind of the beauty of this is that the minimum order quantity that we calculated was 12 pieces. And as long as the imprint design is the same, the exact same design and the exact same color, whether it's on a long sleeve tee, a short sleeve tee, or a pullover sweatshirt, all those different pieces. So maybe some people might want to buy 3 pieces. They might want a long sleeve, a short sleeve, and a sweatshirt. So, but it won't take very many people to meet the minimum.
You got over 12 hands already. So
Yeah,
And
I'd
then
be
they
interested
can,
too.
and we can change it up, like we can run it like for a quarter, quarter of the year, collect all the orders, close the sale, and then maybe add new pieces the next time, or do an embroidery piece, like a sweatshirt, zip up sweatshirt with the left chest embroidery, or a baseball cap, or stocking cap. We could do an embroidery.
that's how
And
the art guild does it too. They
yeah,
like we have like a window, like if you want merch, get merch now, and then they close it and then they reopen.
right, yeah. So we can keep, it can be an ongoing thing, and every time we reach the, the time limit or, whatever, then we can turn in the orders, and then, it can be in basically passive income for the club. And, it'll help us, fund some of the speakers that we get and build our coffers a little bit, because I know they've mentioned that's been an issue as well. So, it could turn out to be a
One
win-win
last-
for everybody.
One question, if there was a group and they sent it to one particular person, would we be able to save money on that and then maybe give them out at the July picnic or something to
Oh,
that
absolutely.
effect, or-
If people wanted to go together and order all, you just submit the order all on one order and have it shipped to whoever wants to be the recipient of the order and distribute
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to save, probably save on shipping, individual shipping costs.
Patty, I was going to ask, there are a couple of images that use one color. Would it be possible that if some people wanted light shirts and some people wanted dark shirts, that you could have a simple emblem like that and run some with black ink and run the others with white ink?
Yeah, they can. They just have to, they will charge a color change charge because they have to stop and clean the screens and switch the ink on the machine. And, yeah, it's like changing horses in midstream. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there would be an extra charge for that, but it's, not a terrible amount.
Yeah, or it'd be the same as if you had two colors, you had two screens.
No, it's, if it's the same art, it's the same screen. It doesn't matter what color the ink is
Okay.
on the screen.
Oh, and Joe, one other good reason to do this is we need a logo for the website. The one that I've created and that we've used is a horrible logo. It was really meant as a fill-in until we could come up with something better, and nobody's ever come up with something better than what I just threw together one night when we set up this new website. So it's worthwhile going through this to get a decent logo that we'll use for the next, hopefully, 45 years that we've been around.
Yeah, I'd say some of these logos, if we were using them on the website, I'd think of them a little bit differently than if I'm getting it on a t-shirt.
Well, hopefully we can use it on both. And
Yeah.
like I said, the one that I put in that's a print was more to show this is what we have right now and we need something better. I'm the first one to say it's not a good logo, but we needed something.
Okay, well, with that said, Ellen and Patty, I nominate you two to be in charge and I'll take notes. How's that? And then you, Ellen, you can direct us, Patty, with your contributions, and then by our next meeting, we can either during the newsletter beforehand, put out like the next steps, or Ellen? Patty, you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, well,
Yeah,
thank
this is great because I could work on this in the day when I'm at work and get paid to do it. So
excellent. Okay, well, we're gonna move on because our time is actually running short. The only other thing I have on the agenda is, on my part, and then it goes to Jeff, is the something made or something homemade for the January challenge. And this was really an interesting one for me because I can't get over the talents that our members have. Bernard, I was amazed by the different diverse talents that he has. Adele Schaefer, when you see her photos, I don't have this in text. She learned how to needle arts when she was 6 or 7 from her grandmother. So her work's absolutely beautiful. John Wiley, your wife, Kathy, boy, is she talented. And Mark, and I don't know if it's Cindy, but Van Cleve's designs, they are so realistic. I don't know if it's a Z scale that I'm looking at, if it's left up all year, but it's just incredible. And Shelley Schweitzer's husband work is amazing. My only complaint about that is I wish I was in their family because he only makes his art for family members and gifts. It's gorgeous. And then as for my slides, I realized as I looked at my art, I peaked in high school. So anything that I have, it was done in high school, except you'll see a couple wood carvings by the Cedar Creek wood carvers and what my daughter does when she has a Sharpie. So I am
And
now.
I never sent any of my photos just because I buy from other crafts people and I was busy dealing with other issues at that time. So sorry, they're in the newsletter.
Okay, well, let's give this one a try. I'm just having mouse problems. Okay. And do you see it?
Nope, not yet.
Oh. Okay. I was so impressed because it actually looked like it was working. Okay, I am on share. I see my screen that I want to share, but I'm going to hit the share sound button first.
Yeah.
And I've got that clicked. I then click on my screen too. Correct?
If that's what you're sharing
That is
from,
what I'm
yeah.
sharing because I have an icon on my desktop. I'm going down to hit share.
And
Now it's
now,
loading.
yeah, now it's working.
Okay, and now let me go over to my little icon. Anything? Yes.
Yep.
So very impressive. Next month then, the topic, another one, the challenge is that it was another one that the members chose, and it's a line from a song. So when you submit your photos, please give me the example I've used is like The Long and Winding Road by the Beatles, but please tell me what the song title is with the name as you submit your photos. And I'm going to try and see if I can get that on there, but no promises. I'm still working on the screen share. So, okay, Jeff, it is all yours.
All right. You want me to do Carl's thing first, or should we do that at the end?
Totally whatever you feel best.
Well, let's just do Karl quick. I don't know if everybody had heard yet, but Karl Hokanson passed away on the 17th. He had cancer, and that he was a longtime shooter at Road America. He shot rugby. he was pretty much a sports photographer as a hobby and an architect as his full-time job. So I thought that I spent a lot of time at the track with Karl. I know John Wiley has, and Jeff Ewig would run into him quite a bit, and a lot of other of us, Brian and Ken. So I thought I did this for Sean, his one son, and I thought, well, why not share it here with the group? So let me see if I can do this. Now, my trick is I have way more screens than everybody else. And that is actually screen one. Okay.
More chance for error.
Yeah, it's fun part is I got to get the right thing up. Okay. So, if everything works right, here it is.
Yep, that sounds horrible.
Well, I don't know why the sound's quite so bad, but
It's like really weird buzzing noise. That's all.
yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure you're getting it too. Yeah.
How's that? We'll keep it silent. I think I know where the crossover is, but Karl liked to shoot the motorcycles, bicycles, you name it. Anything was sports. He loved Road America because you could get around to so many spots. And a lot of these shots were stuff that he gave me to enter into competitions when the club was entering competitions. So most of it is Road America. And if for those of you that haven't gone to Road America, it is a fun place to shoot. A lot of access all around the track. It's a little over a 4-mile track and a lot of places that you can sit and photograph and be close to the action.
Yeah, Jeff,
Karl,
I was gonna ask on that. You can just get a ticket to the weekend or the day or whatever, bring your camera and take pictures, and you get fairly close to the track from what I've seen, right?
Right.
I've never been up there. I've always wanted to.
Yeah, none of this is special access. This is all behind the fences, just like everybody else. And there's a lot of corners that don't have fences that you can shoot from. Some places you do run into fencing to shoot it, but there's a lot of places around a lot of the turns and that you can sit right on the inside or outside of the turn. And they just have a little 3-foot fence that you shoot over to photograph the cars or the motorcycles. And you sooner or later find a lot of the good spots. Corner 6 was Karl's favorite. It was in the shade, and it was always a good spot to shoot in the afternoon because you're out of the hot sun. They have quite a few different types of races throughout the year, with old vehicles to the new more modern stuff, motorcycles and such. So yeah, there's a lot that you can do out at the track, and it's not super expensive especially if you go on a Friday and Saturday, and most of the big races are on Sunday. Now, he also liked to shoot bicycle races, and he went to a lot of those as well. I don't know as much about the bicycle stuff. Ken probably can say more about some of it than I know I can, but a lot of these races are held in areas where you can get pretty good coverage on. Karl entered a lot of PSA international exhibitions, and he's won numerous awards throughout the world. He never talked about them too much. It was just his hope that he would get PSA. If you get a certain number of wins, you get letters after your name, and he had the one set of letters PPSA, which meant he made it to the first level of awards. He always came down with us to Renaissance Fair when the club used to go down there for Renaissance. He loved shooting the fairies. And of course, a lot of people like to shoot this glass guy. He does some marvelous work. And his other favorite sport was rugby. He went down to the Milwaukee, I think that's the Milwaukee 7, if I remember right. He'd go down there for most of their rugby games. And he just had a ball shooting all the action that was going on with that as well. Nice part with these rugby games, from what I understand, you can get pretty close on the sidelines to photograph from, so it makes it pretty easy. And it always looked like he found the dirtiest days to photograph them in. That's our neighborhood Richfield streetwalker. His name's Jeff. We call him the bag man because he walks around with hundreds of bags on him. And of course, Karl shot some architecture because he was an architect. And he was always willing to try different photo activities that the club did, or wacko. And something that he turned me on to, and I believe Ken and even Brian, was the Pettit Ice Center and photographing the speed skaters. It was a lot of fun shooting that for a number of years.
John, I think you were just doing that, weren't you? Weren't you just out, John Wiley, shooting speed skaters?
Yes, I shot there this weekend.
Yeah, you got a speed skater coming up behind you.
Yes. I thought of Karl while I was there.
Yeah.
Most of these are the short track that you don't see too much around here.
No. That's Sam's.
Yeah, Karl knew a lot of these skaters' names and could tell you who was coming up next.
Yeah.
He really followed it pretty close. I just was interested in always getting the skaters in certain poses and that.
Over the time, I've met a few of the skaters and shared images with them, and they're an interesting group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, this weekend, I think I shot 6,000 images.
I only had about 83 from him, so. But I know he has, I'm going over to his house on Thursday to figure out what to do with his hard drive and see what he all has and that, because his kids want to put together a book of all his photography. So that's going to be an interesting project, because I know Karl has hundreds and hundreds or thousands of images. So that's it. Just a little remembrance of Karl.
Yeah,
He'd
thank
been
you
with
for
the
putting that
club a
together.
long time.
Yeah,
I
thanks,
sent-
Jeff.
I sent
Yeah,
the
no
family
problem.
the last newsletter, saying that we will miss him, because there was a little blurb that we put in there, and I did hear from, I believe his son, Sean, who's just
Yeah.
so yeah, so I did, and I sent that separately so that I could write more of a personal message on his passing then. All right.
Yeah, and they're not doing any funeral. Karl did not want a funeral. They are going to hold a celebration of life sometime this summer, I believe. So, yeah, they haven't said when that's going to be, but yeah, he will be missed. He taught me a lot on the sports stuff when it came to shooting at Road America.
And he knew everyone up there.
Yep, he sure did. Okay, so after that happy note, let's start with, let's see, how do we want to do this? Does somebody want to go first? I'm going to go last. Or do we want to see the image that I suppose everybody will see the image after whoever wants to go first goes first.
I'll go first.
Okay. Go ahead, Bob. So click allow on that warning thing, and that will go away. Otherwise, it could stop you. And I don't know, where'd it go? You might be muted because I don't hear you. I'm trying to spot you on all the screens here, and it's funny. Yeah, Bob, you're still muted.
How's that?
Yep, now we can hear you.
Okay. So this is the image that I started with, and you can see there's nothing done. All I did is import it. The first thing I did in looking at it, I didn't know if 1600 would have any noise would impact anything, so I just ran it through DxO Prime, clean it up from noise and any lens corrections that were required. And then to start this, normally I do all my work or 98% in Lightroom. This one I started by going and opening this in Photoshop as a smart object. So I don't know why it's not doing that.
It might take a little longer to get done because the computer's using a lot of resources when it does all this stuff. There it goes.
Okay. And all your pictures are right over my the working part of my screen here.
Oh, Ian, you remember what the keyboard
There we
shortcut
go.
is to make that go away? Yeah.
I made it go away.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Gotta write that down.
So because I opened it as a smart object, I can double click on it now and get into Camera Raw. And the reason I wanted to do that is the latest Camera Raw has a beta that isn't in Lightroom yet. So hopefully the next upgrade of Lightroom, this won't be a required step. But this is how you would normally open it in Lightroom or Camera Raw using the Adobe standard profile. They have a beta profile that's called Adobe Adaptive. And when you open it with that, that's the image you get. And now notice that the exposure, all of the settings throughout are 0. So if you have a real high contrast photo and you just like do the white balance or set the white and dark balance, you end up with no place to go on your sliders, where now you have full control. So I think this is going to become huge for giving you a great starting point on a photo. I mean, this is the way normally it would have opened for me, and this is how it came up in doing this this photo. So I'm quickly gonna close this.
Well, that's kind of a game changer, huh?
It is, it's amazing. I was really excited about that. I wanted to make sure you all were aware that hopefully that's coming.
Yeah, that's a good one to know about.
Yeah, so this is where the photo ended up. And I'm going to open this now so I can show you the other things that I did. Okay, oh, I got to double click. Now I set up 4 masks here. And this one, oops, that's all of them. This one, for instance, I darkened with a linear gradient the bottom here, because that was kind of bright and caught your eye rather than the building. And then I did the same thing on the top and darkened that. The third one was just to, darken a few more areas that I thought were overly bright. And one thing, I don't know if it'll show on the over Zoom, but if you just kind of look at the whole image and you look at it now and now, it gives the image a lot more depth. If you darken what's coming in and the top, it just gives the illusion of a little more of a 3D rather than a flat image. So at this point, I went back to finish the image in Lightroom. And the first thing I did is I went to the calibration section and I moved blue up to 100%. And while it put a little bit of blue in some of these rocks, what it really did was made the greens and the yellows pop. And then I also bumped up the red a little bit to give a little more color into some of the leaves. Then I did some slight adjustments to texture, clarity, and then I started playing around with brightness, and I got somewhere up around here, and then I let it set for a couple of days, and I made some more changes, and the last one was just to darken the sky, the roof, because it was a little too bright. So in the end, this is where I ended up.
Well, it's pretty good.
All right, any questions before I stop sharing?
Oh, thanks, Bob. That's great.
Okay.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay. Bernard, go right ahead. This is always fun watching my image get processed by different people.
Okay. This is the original. One of the pictures that I downloaded, and instead of like trying to improve it, I tried some going through some filters to see what kind of results it would reproduce or produce. This one here, I was doing some, also doing a lot of with camera raw and adjusting the sliders in there, because I think I darkened up the foreground a little bit, and playing with some of the sliders. Because now this picture here, if you look at, say, the forest, it looks, say, sort of summer towards fall. And by adjusting the sliders and made it a little more green, which kind of makes it look like early spring. And this is one that I tried with a lens flare and a vignette combination to see how it would come out with that. And this is that same picture, also doing an attempt with HDR, and this is another one with as HDR. So that's what I did with it.
Well, some interesting ideas there. Thanks, Bernard.
Sure.
Neat stuff. Who wants to go next?
I certainly can try to go next, and we'll see if I got
Okay, Jim.
if I got my stuff to work here. Let me just explain to everybody. I had trouble because I actually lost my RAID drive, and that meant I was unable to actually access any photos at all. So I'm just realizing it's not going to let me pull this off one way. I'm going to try it a different way here. All right. Let's see if I can share this now. It wouldn't let me share that. So let's say if I do desktop 1, and we'll hit share. Okay, I think you see Lightroom now.
Yep.
Okay, let me go way back to the beginning here. We're going to talk about what I did here. When I first got this stuff from Jeff, I tried doing the HDR version. The problem that I found with the HDR version is that when I took it into Photoshop, I couldn't get a lot of things to work on it. And it took me a long time to figure out that this is a 32-bit file. Many things in Photoshop don't like 32-bit and they don't work there. They'll work in 16. So when I dropped it back to 16, I lost some color. And it just wasn't looking right. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to worry about that. So Jeff did send us a version like this that you could clean up sort of by yourself. This is just a single regular version of his picture. But the first thing I did was I as you know, I've been doing a lot of research on how we really need to adjust our pictures. And one of my problems with a picture like this one is somebody doesn't really know where to look. And part of the problem is everything's in focus and everything's pretty bright. And you can try to darken it, but I figured, okay, I'm going to start doing a few different things to it and just start playing with things first. And I went into on one, and I was going to do some things with colors and get some sort of a light streak coming off from the side and changing it a little bit. But again, the problem is there's so much bright here that people still don't know exactly where to look. This picture has, I think, much better control of that. And just to show you what I did here, let me get out of this full screen. This was done done with just some lighting effects here in this picture. So what I did was I have a radio filter here, and I basically darkened the edges. So what this is doing is it's getting rid of the darkness on the edges. Then I basically made a brightness behind the building and took the building out of it. So I can probably show you those one at a time. So here is the toning down of everything but the center. And I'm doing that because I really need you to look at the building rather than everywhere else. And this one is giving a glow around the building. Now, again, if you didn't see me doing that, you probably would never have seen that. And then I just added a little bit of brightness on the corner of that building. So that's kind of where I left this. And then I tried to see if I could play around with some other effects, and I'll just show you some of these so you kind of know where I was going with all of this. I tried doing some things with textures to see if I could soften the leaves. This was a disaster. Didn't think much of this at all. So then I decided to do something that I know this is a dangerous word to throw around, and that's AI. But I thought, what if I wanted to actually use this to hang up as an art piece? And I know AI is not really all there yet, and it has a lot of things that need to be changed. But what I wanted to show you was I said to AI, give me a forest with some pretty flowers out in front. And the only thing it really screwed up on this one was it gave me a drop off at the building on the right-hand side. And you can't have a drop off there because there's a door. So I did tell it to build me some stairs. Now, I didn't spend a lot of time on this, to be honest with you, because this was just an example. But the interesting part was it's a little out of proportion, and I know all of that. But then I said, okay, try it again. And the second version, as you know, you get 3 versions. I didn't like the third one, but this was the second version. And I thought, well, again, if you were turning this into an art piece, okay, you couldn't say this is your family's cottage if it's here because it's not there. I get it. But it depends on what you're doing. And I don't know if most people are aware of this, but there's now some brand new things that are available in Photoshop that you can tell the program to make you something that looks either like a drawing or a painting or whatever. And I had these all nicely organized, but when everything fell apart, I quickly, while we were having this meeting, tried to get things back in here, but I don't really have them in any order. But I just wanted to show you some of these things turned into paintings, either using this program, Photoshop, and using some of its stuff, or I did use on one of these here, I did use a version of Topaz. There's a free version of Topaz out there, Topaz 2, which if you've ever had a Topaz product, I think you can get this and you can use it. And it does a lot of these paintings. This is more like a pencil art kind of thing. And this was really, I think, the last one that I had, but this is really kind of wild. Just to show you that there really are a lot of ways that you can go about changing your stuff if you're willing to experiment even in artwork from your photos. There's some really amazing things you can do out there. I'm just sorry I don't have everything in order, and that's the best I could do, but at least you got to see some of what I was able to pull off.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
As a reminder.
I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, I can do one.
Who's working on it next? Pat?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Pat. And then Jesse next.
I'll go after Jesse.
Do you see it?
Yep, we see the waterfall.
Okay. All right. What I did was I took the 3 images and I put them together as an HDR. So I had the lights, the darks, and the midtones. And this particular image was all done in Lightroom. Let me put that on full screen. The whole thing was done in Lightroom. I did some little bit more saturation in it, and I did lighten up this area in here, and more of a texture. I did the texture. Let me go back to Lightroom on that. Oh, darn it. Okay, I did the, let me go on to here now. Okay, and develop here. I did do, let's see. I turned up the texture and the clarity on it and turned down the haze a little bit to lighten it up a little bit. So that was the one I came up with Lightroom. So then I thought, well, I'll try, just for the heck of it, Photo Matrix. Everybody remembers that ancient program.
Yeah.
So I brought it into Photo Matrix. But what I didn't like is sometimes it does this with the darks, is like in the doorway here, it left grainy and white. I suppose I could blacken that in, but I really didn't care for this. It was just a little too grungy for me. So then I took again the 3 photos, and sometimes I play with Nick, or the old Nick, or DxO now. And I brought that into DxO and used let's see, there's two different things I always use in there. And I can't think of the name of the warmth, brilliance and warmth. And the other one is gives it a little bit more of a grungy look
Oh,
to it.
detail extractor?
Detail extractor, yes.
Yeah.
That was the other one I used on this. Then I brought it back into Lightroom and then played with the exposure a little bit and the highlights. I didn't do much with masking in this one. I think I did did I do any masking in this one? Yes. But this one here, this particular one here, I darkened the front a little bit here with the mask. That was the one I did in Lightroom completely. And then I thought, well, what the heck? Let's see what this looks like in black and white. So I brought it into I did black and white on that. And I did a little bit more masking on this one. This area here I darkened up because it was a little bright and it was kind of just catching my eye. And I don't know if I turned up the texture kind of heavy to give it more of a gritty look. Now you can always turn this part of it down to smooth it out a little bit if you want, along with this. I did turn up the dehaze a little bit, darken it, otherwise I felt it was too light. Oh, and I did darken this portion of the top also. So that was the black and white version. So those were the 3 things that or actually 4 things that I did with it. I really like Bob's one that he did with the part there in the Camera Raw and Photoshop. I'm going to have to try that once. I did see that done once by Mac Laskowski. He had that out, but I'm going to try it myself. So those were my versions.
Okay, great, Pat.
Let's see. Now I just got to stop sharing here.
Yeah, it's always fun finding the panel. There you
Yeah.
go. Who was next?
Me.
Jesse. Okay, Jesse.
Okay. This was the photo that I picked. It was the in-between photo, the average size exposure. And then I took it into, I've been using On1, and I just did a basic adjustment on the entire photo of opening the shadows, reducing some highlights. And then I went and I did some dynamic contrast on the house. I add a little bit of sunshine to the house to make it a little warmer. Then I added a warm photo filter to the entire photo. I blurred the background a little bit with a lens blur. I did a sun flare. Jim and I were at the same place. I did a little sun flare in the top left corner. And I added a vignette to the entire photo, which darkened this down here. And then I added LUTs at a lower capacity to try to bring it all in together, tie it all together. That's what I did. I don't know exactly how to open it in my program, so I'm just telling you what I did.
Sure. No, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, great. Thanks,
Jeff,
Jesse.
I can go.
Okay, go on, Ian.
All right, so you're seeing the house, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this was the original, and or one of the originals, 2, 3. And this is what I ended up with. So right out of shoot, it's a 16 by 9. I felt like those proportions worked better with the house than having more of the trees in the background because I decided the house was primary focus. So I kind of tried to balance it. It was kind of even on the left, even on the right as it was. I put this in as a monochrome image, even though you can tell there's some color in here. I played with the the basic exposure, up a little contrast. I boost the shadows as high as I could. The blacks are up pretty high. That's what kind of gives it this more softer matte look. It also helps kind of, I'd say, just kind of like mush together some of the background. Up the clarity, up the dehaze, which kind of helps counteract the fact that I lifted the shadows and I lifted the black so much, so I still get some in there. Just a little bit on the tone curve because I was clipping highlights on the roof. Again, lifted blacks, so I was constantly just playing with the shadows up and down a lot. I don't know why I did this. Doesn't do anything. It's like changes. Oh yes, changes like one little thing right here in the middle on the roof, and maybe one thing over here. And I was just like, whatever, it's better down. It gets rid of that bright spot, so I left it down. The funny part is most of this image is like green. It's like if you just play with green, like the whole thing is green. So that's why I, for the most part, I immediately went to monochrome and just threw all the color out because I was just like, it's all green. So color grading is where I get color. So my shadows are this tealish blue, which is primarily the outsides here, and then the midtones and the highlights I gave more of an orange color, blue and orange being complementary colors. They tend to go well together. It kind of gives it this rundown, old looking vibe going with it that I liked better than the color edition. I also pushed the midtone luminance all the way up, pushed the shadows just a little bit, again, giving it that matte look that you see. My typical shadow sharpening there. I did not denoise it because it's ISO 400. It's fine. Effects of very slight vignette, nothing crazy. Calibration, I always play with the calibration. In this case, I pushed them all over the place. The funny part is, so again, I put this in the monochrome, so like there is no true color being shown. But when you play with these, you still play with the way the colors are handled even in monochrome. So playing with these still does stuff. So like hue, play with the hue, you can see I could control how much of this like aura there kind of was around the house. So I could play around with these. The blue one obviously does a whole lot because so much, again, it's that green, and when you mess with it, it really messes with it. And then lastly, they do a couple masks. This one to brighten up this section because it was kind of dark when I finished editing. This one intentionally too darkened just a little bit. I mean, I just barely darkened it, just a little bit there. This mask was used for shadows on the overall house because I had darkened things too much that the house had lost its detail. So by doing a radial filter and bringing up the shadows, that helped. I did a reverse one of that basically. And this one is where I dropped highlights because it was very bright right here in the center. I felt that was really distracting, so I dropped that down, dropped the shadows down, dropped the whites down, just to kind of, like I said, to muddy this all up basically and make this less of a distraction of the house itself. And I also brought the texture down, same thing. That kind of gives it that less sharp image. And yeah, so I'd say it's kind of my like standard stuff I do on a photo outside of I don't do a lot of monochrome and then mess with the colors. I usually leave them black and white. But in this case, I figure I'd play with the colors too. So. Something different.
Yeah, different. Interesting. It's always fun doing this to see how different people process the same image.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next? Anybody? I don't have the list in front of me. Chris, did you want to go?
You should hear me, I hope, by now.
Yep, now we can hear you.
Oh, good. Let me share my screen. Oh, boy.
Everybody's getting good practice on sharing their screen today.
We're going to figure this out. Okay. That is what I want to share, the Photoshop screen. And I think that's what I want. So let's share that and see what happens. Okay, this is the original picture. And when I first looked at it, as soon as my computer lets me do anything, I thought the interesting part of the picture was really the detail in this little chimney. So I was going to zoom in on the chimney. But that didn't really do me enough interest. So I decided what I wanted to do was to move the whole thing. So I moved it to South Dakota. Since I was in South Dakota this summer, and I thought it was kind of a building that looked like it belonged in South Dakota more than in Wisconsin. So if this thing was in Wisconsin, I apologize, but I thought it looked better out of the state. The next thing I thought I'd do with it, I thought that it would look better at night. So I made it I took a picture of it and then put a background in the background. Those are the Pleiades up in the upper right-hand corner looking toward the east, for what it's worth. And that's what I did to it. I basically moved it from one state to another and then moved it to the darkness. But it's a really nice picture, but I couldn't see. I tried putting little figures in the doorways that might have been humorous, but when I tried that, I didn't find anything that was all that interesting in that in that technique. So I stayed with South Dakota and the darkness. And if I could stop and share, and that's what I did.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. Interesting. These are all interesting. Anybody else? I know we sent it to everybody, so if anybody wants to talk about what they did, that's fine. I know Brian sent me a good one that had a bear chasing a person.
You have that to show?
No, I don't have it floating close by. I don't know. Hang on one second. Maybe I do have it. I had so many. No, not on the. Let's see. Let me give it a quick look. I keep this stuff in so many places that. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Just got to move it to right folder. Save it. Okay. That took me a little while, but so you see the bear chasing the person.
That's
So
using
that's
Photoshop beta AI.
okay. Yeah, you got the person about the right size too. Bear might be a little big, but yeah, that worked out pretty good.
It was fun trying.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was hiking down in the Smoky Mountains, just so everybody knows where the cabin actually was, off of Roaring Fork Road, one of my favorite places to visit. So I played with this an awful lot. I tried different filters. This one's a watercolor filter on it after I processed the HDR in Lightroom and then used different filters on it. Here's I believe it's pastels. This is oil paint. What I finally came up with, let's see, this is really, yeah, is this one here. I started to get like Brian, and I created a nice sepia toned black and white because that's how I picture the log cabins. So I go through the whole thing, but it's real. I merged it to HDR. I processed the image, and then I blurred the background using lens blur, so the background wouldn't be so noticeable. I then took it into Photoshop and selected the building and adjusted the sharpness of the building itself using Nik Color Effects detail extractor because I didn't want the background to get enhanced. I just wanted the building. So I used Nik and just selected the building in Photoshop by selecting subject and sharpened the building up. Then I took the whole image back in Photoshop yet and went to Nik Silver Effects, and I used their, it's a number 34 yellow 2 preset, which gave me the nice brown background, the nice bordered effect, and that. Then I go, well, I'm not going to stop here. I first wanted a person with an axe. And I go, okay, I've got him standing outside. I tried him in the doorway. It just didn't fit right. So I did it again with him standing outside. And then I go, well, if he's got an axe, he must have just got done chopping firewood. So I added the firewood pile next to the cabin. Then I go, well, if you're living out in a cabin, you probably have a dog and probably a cat. So why not have both of them in the photo? And then last I thought, well, I got to show the wife being a little upset that he's not working harder. And I put her over on the other side. So, and then finally, and this was getting later at night, I got really crazy. I decided I needed a bear climbing up the chimney. So as you start to work with the prompts, you can really have a lot of fun, but you got to get really creative. I mean, the prompt for the guy and the lady is a 1930s person dressed in vintage clothing, cradling an axe for the guy, and the other, for the lady looking off to her left, upset with her husband. And as you expand these choices and words that you add, you start to get, more stuff. And the same as I just said, pick a hound dog. And they gave me a couple varieties. I picked one that worked. And then the same with the cat. And the bear was pretty simple. So you can have a lot of fun with these photos. And it shows that, here's the standard shot that I probably would use for most of it. And that's the cabin with the background now out of focus using lens blur, because that I found is easier. And back in the day that I shot this, which was quite a few years back, it was 2018, and I was shooting everything pretty much closed down on a tripod to get everything in focus. And that was fine back then, but my tastes have changed to now I want to isolate the building off of the background, and so I use the lens blur quite a bit. So you can see you've got a lot of choices. Now here's my final craziest one, and that is creating just an abstract art of the building. And one of these days I'll go through the whole technique because it's rather long and takes up a lot of computer power. But it's basically taking the image, copying and flipping it on all four corners, and then doing a bunch of twists with it and flipping it around. So you can have a lot of fun. One last thing about how I do shoot. I shoot 3 shots on everything that's a still life. The only thing I don't shoot 3 shots on are sports because it's not possible. But I shoot 2 stops underexposed, 2 stops overexposed, and a normal. I may use just the normal shot. Probably 80% of the time I'll use the normal. A lot of times I may use the under or over, especially if my exposure was off, or I'll process it HDR. Most of the time I process it in Lightroom as an HDR and then convert it down to whatever I happen to need. So that's what I do. I gotta admit, I've run this so many times that I come up with different ideas every time I play with it. Here was an oil painting after I converted it to with all the animals in black and white. So I kept playing with it. I keep playing with it. It's something different. But you can see from all the different people that processed it, all the different ways that a person can process the image. There's no right way, wrong way, but it's to get everybody to know that, there is a lot of different ways to process an image, and you never know what you may get. Honestly, when I normally process an image, I couldn't tell you what I did to it, but I'll go off on some track and continue to process it till I reach a point where I'm happy with it. And actually, I'm pretty happy with my people here. I'm not quite so happy with the wife. I may get rid of her. So maybe I'll sick the bear on her. I don't know. But it's Photoshop has gotten to be a lot of fun. Now, I used to do a lot of this type of stuff when I had my own darkroom. Not quite this deep because you had to cut the people out and glue them in, or cut pieces out and glue it in, or paint it in, or do all sorts of stuff to it in the darkroom. Or like Ansel Adams did, he would spend hours in the darkroom. 50% of your shot is actually taking the photo. The other 50% is processing it. And there's a lot of ways you can process these images nowadays with Photoshop, and Photoshop and Lightroom are making it so much easier to process your image. So big thing is play around, try different ideas. It's only pixels, so you're not hurting anything. And keep experimenting, and you never know what you may get. So thanks everybody for doing it. It's always an education when I watch somebody process my own image. And it's gets to be quite a challenge just to find an image that's both boring enough and exciting enough to use for this challenge, because you don't want something too easy that people just jump at. And I am a photographer that likes to shoot on cloudy, overcast days the most, so that's how I get most of these shots. So that's it. Not too bad. We only ran 12 minutes over.
Hey Ken, are you doing out of Chicago this year? Chicago Live? I think you did last year or 2 years ago, something like that.
I did it a couple years ago. Is that next weekend then, Ian?
It's this weekend.
This weekend coming up. I haven't decided yet. I've still have some courses I paid for that I haven't gone through half of the
It's like
videos yet.
150 courses over 3 days or something that they do. So it's a
Yes.
lot of content. I think I'm
Yeah.
hosting five of them I'm hosting, and then I'm
Wow.
presenting during the attendee takeover. I'm doing a talk. 7-minute talk.
So what is your item you're doing this year?
I'm talking about some photos that I just recently took of the Milwaukee Art Museum, the new Meadow exhibit. There's an exhibit at the Milwaukee Art Museum of these fabric flowers hanging down from the ceiling, and they open and close. They change colors, and just basically telling a story about how I thought I'd go and the place would be empty and I'd have it all to myself, like I did last year when I shot the iceberg. And instead, I showed up and there's a members meet going on, and there's like 100 people in the lobby, and the lights are dim. And then shooting them was way more difficult than I thought it would. I didn't like any of my photos, and then eventually finding a way that I like to shoot them, and then getting some photos I really like.
So how long is that exhibit gonna run?
I think it's sometime into March.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's how long it is. Double check it, but I think it's March. So it's pretty. It's tricky to photograph, especially when there's people and tables and the lights are dim, which is what I was dealing with. So I might try. We'll see if I don't know if I'm gonna get a chance to go back during the daytime to see how they look during the daytime. I bet they're probably cool in the daytime too. They're probably actually a little easier to shoot in the daytime because they have a light bulb in the middle. So with the lights turned down, as I say in my presentation, somehow the photos looked both overexposed and underexposed because everything was dark around the edges, underexposed, but the center of the flower was overexposed because of the light. So trying to balance that was really challenging. I think maybe during the daytime where you get the ambient light, lighting up the flower, it might balance it out more. But you'll get something totally different than what I ended up getting.
I'm sorry, where is that again?
Milwaukee Art Museum, downtown, right in the main lobby of the College Rava.
Yeah, I was there a couple days ago and I didn't see that there, but I don't know.
It's up in the ceiling, so I mean, if you go into the
Oh,
lobby,
yeah,
you don't
yeah,
look
yeah,
up.
I get it. Okay, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yes.
They do. This is the second year that they've done they call it their winter series. So for like 2 months worth, they have guest exhibit series there. And last year is the iceberg. Is these like blue and greenish glass panes.
Sure,
That I really like that one. That one was really cool. These are cool too. These are way more high tech.
yeah.
Anything else before we close for the night?
The Orchid Show is starting Tuesday at Chicago Botanic. So, well, it might start this weekend for all I know, but the photographer hours are every Tuesday. There's a morning one and an afternoon one. And they start this Tuesday. So I'll be down there on Tuesday. That's the only other thing that I can think of.
When are you going down?
What was that, John?
When are you going down?
I'm going Tuesday morning. So you have to buy tickets ahead of time.
Yeah, I got tickets for the 18th.
Okay, you're on the second week.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going right away because I'm going to see a whole bunch of people during Chicago Live, and then I'll get to actually see them in person like 3 days later at the Orchid show. So
yeah.
If you've never been, I highly recommend it, even if you don't come and take pictures. Just thousands of orchids. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous presentation and a great place to get some great photos of orchids.
And you don't have to go during photographer hours if you want to take pictures. It's just that they have designated times that you can use a tripod and lights if you want to do lights. If all you want to do is just bring a camera to take pictures, you can go on a weekend. Just be respectful of the other people walking around enjoying the flowers. That's all.
Yeah. There's a lot of other people taking pictures at that same time.
That's the thing, is it's a little more crowded during.
It's a little crowded.
Yeah,
but
the photographer hour, they limit it, so that helps.
Yeah. It still works though.
Mm-hmm,
that photographer hour is just a little early.
I end up staying past the photographer hour and shooting for a couple more hours during the regular exhibit anyway.
Yeah, yeah. No. Oh, great. Well, and I think we can wind it up.
Sounds great. Everybody who's going to the tabletop, have a great time, and we'll see you guys in a month.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
Yeah.